Welcome to another edition of Africa Sideways. My name's Big Sig Simpson and we're coming to you from the brand new Chery Tiggo 8 Max. This is a hell of a piece of kit, ladies and gentlemen. 187 kilowatts out of a 2-litre turbo. A little bit surprised when I got into this car. It's front wheel drive. There is an all-wheel drive model. It's slightly more expensive, 740,000 Rand. This is just under 700,000 Rand. So with this kind of power, I would definitely recommend going for the all-wheel drive, because as we'll see when we get off the line here, it has loads and loads of power. A lot of the Chinese cars I see come out with a 2-litre turbo, and yeah, I mean it also comes in a 1.6 turbo. So if you don't need that get out of your seat power, the 1.6 would be adequate. But if you're towing and have heavy loads and overtaking on the highway, that's when the 2-litre comes into its own, ladies and gentlemen. Very luxurious in here. Lots of space for your drinks. You can put your keys here. You know, very well laid out. It reminds me a lot of a Haval H6, the way it's laid out. I get the feeling the Chinese companies do share some ideas and tech and whatnot, and they're kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, but you can see that. Whoa, you see, this is economical mode. So one of the first things I noticed about this car is the eco mode is like a sports mode in a lot of cars. You've got the
normal mode entered.
So you get normal mode.
Sports mode entered.
Sports mode is just revolting. It's just very, very quick. So, but the one little thing I don't like about the car is every time you
economic mode entered.
You change mode, the lady says economic mode entered, and as soon as you start the car in the morning, it tells you which mode you're in. I've been trying to work out how to turn that off, because I think it's overkill. I mean, you should know what mode you're in from when you're finished. But in terms of beeping, it beeps less than the H6, which I like. I find a lot of the Chinese cars that I've driven before, the P series and whatnot, were massive beepers, but this is less beeping. And the only little thing that irritates me is it tells you what mode you're in when you start, which I think is really not necessary. But here we are on the highway. Cruise is very nice. You got different options for your settings here. You can have a traditional screen, you can have it as a map. For safety, this is much better having the map like this, because you don't have to look at there. You can look there. It's more safer than having to look there and up. And then for overtaking, it's got the blind spot monitor, which comes in really handy. It doesn't have the active steering control. I haven't come across that, which is great. I find you have to wrestle the car the whole time. So it's got the right tech on here, which is a real plus point. Certainly is a good plus point. So we're cruising along here at 100 k's an hour, and you're only doing 1,900 revs, which is nothing. So in the city, it's not the most economical. You're doing it about 11 liters per 100 real world driving, but as soon as you get on the highway, you're under 10, and for a big car, that certainly does what it says in the package. Just trying to see how I can. Okay, so this trip today on the school run, 8.9 liters per 100. And let's see, in total, I've done 345 Ks and 12.7, but granted, some of that was quite spirited driving and a lot of city driving. Another thing about this car, it's set up for driving in China, so it has an air purifier, which comes in really handy if you're at a McDonald's or something like that and you're sitting behind a dirty diesel. It's gonna, if you're living in a very smoggy city, this kind of thing's gonna help you. The air purifier, that's for sure. It's got the sunroof, big sunroof, which automatically does a little popper, but anyway, for the purposes of sound, we'll leave it there. I like nice big pillars here, so if you're in an accident, heaven forbid you ever roll the car, you've got a fair amount of meat around you. But yeah, in terms of the interior, it reminds me a lot of the Haval H6 and the Jolion to a lesser degree. power is very similar. You could argue that this is the 7-seater version of the 8.6, and you wouldn't be far off. Back seats are easy to get up and down. They fold adequately. Lots of drink space for your water here. Just the right size. You can get a decent sized bottle in there. And they even have a big storage bin in here. You can put all your stuff in here. Look at that. It's all going to fit in. Class leading. It's like a Land Cruiser size storage bin with a little fridge in there. So that's a nice touch. That's a very nice touch. So yeah, price wise, this is 680,000 Rand, which is a lot of car for the money. The equivalent Japanese 7-seater is pushing a mil, and the equivalent German 7-seater is over $1 million. So you are getting a lot of car for your money. When you're buying Chinese, in the back of your mind, one does think about reliability though, because they're still relatively new brands. But so that's to be confirmed. They said the same thing about Toyota in the 70s when they started to eat into the British car market. They said, oh, they'll be unreliable, but they turned out to be more reliable than the British cars. These guys have got a tougher job as they're up against the Japanese cars, which have a history. They built their reputation on reliability. So that's very interesting indeed. This is where this car comes in really handy in the traffic here with the pure mode on. You don't smell any of the fumes from the car in front of you. And this is a dirty TDI in front of us. It's a VW. And I can't smell it whatsoever. All I smell is new leather. So there you go, it actually does work. Like a lot of things on this car work. Well thought out. Very big LCD screen here. There's no actual traditional dials. You can change the screen for a different layout. I just got to work out how to do it. Theme, yeah, you got different themes. Yeah, you got streamer, and then you got classic, which does the usual malarkey, and then you can get your map. You can put your map on there, and it has the little things on the side. That's quite a nice touch. You've got your lane keeping and cruise control and all that stuff. Loads of features on this car. So besides the reliability, which is to be confirmed, which you will only know in time, the rest of the car feels really well made. I mean, this is nice sort of, I'm pretty sure it's fake leather, but it feels well made. The buttons, the steering wheel. Fishman always used to say you can tell how good a hi-fi is by how good the buttons are, and these buttons are really, really good. Here I am saying really, really, really so many times. So this car, what's this car up against? Well, I'm going to be testing another 2 cars it's up against, and then we're going to put this into a whole montage. So this is part 1, is the Tiggo 8, which for me is good value for money. Let me see if I can get around here. Yeah, so that blind spot indicator really helps in these tight trafficy situations. Where was I going? So yeah, directly after this I'm getting the Ford Everest Wildtrak, which is an example of an American offering on the 7-seater varietal that's north of $1 million, just to compare. And also the Mahindra Scorpio 7-seater, which is a direct competition for this price-wise and whatnot. Better off-road than this, but but a lot of people don't. Let's be quite honest. I like going off-road, but a lot of people couldn't give a Scooby about off-road, which is why this car has low-profile tires. The front end is low. It's not made for the off-road market. Sure, if you got the all-wheel drive version, you might want to have a bit more clearance, but for a lot of people, they don't do gravel roading, so it doesn't really matter. But it's got enough clearance to get you over a speed hump and do some gravel. I mean, this with one size up on a tire and with an all-terrain in the all-wheel drive version would be phenomenal on gravel. But you're not going to be doing any off-road tracks in it. So yeah, in the traffic, very, very good. Where this car's going to find a lot of its time is in the traffic doing the school run. Gearbox is super smooth, loads of space, 7 seats. Sure, the boot is small with the 7 seats up, but most 7-seaters I've come across have tiny, teeny boots in that regard. So who's going to be buying this car? This is really aimed at families, people with kids, or if you've got a tour operating business and you need to take people, small groups of people around Cape Town or South Africa. Guys will like it as well with kids, or they need to carry a lot of stuff. You can put the seats down, creates more room. But it's really a family vehicle for somebody that does a lot of long distance driving, needs power. But if you're just doing a school run back, the 1.6s will be adequate. That engine is good, solid engine. It'll get you to church on time. But if you're going to be doing towing and a lot of long distance driving with a fully loaded car, then the turbo is the one for you. So with the Cherys and stuff like that, definitely you want to be getting a new one, because you want to have the backup and the service and the maintenance plan and the full trip, and then get out there and enjoy it. We're coming up to a nice little twisty bit, so we're going to see what the handling's like and a bit of an expression session. We've seen what it's like in the traffic. Brakes are pretty good. I wouldn't say class leading, but they do slow the car down. And yeah, you need brakes are important on a car like this because it's fast. This must be one of the fastest SUVs around. It's definitely the fastest SUV under $1 million, I'd say. Okay, so you see, this is eco mode, and it's still pretty sprightly. Let's see what other things.
Normal mode entered.
Okay, so now we're going to go to normal mode. Straight line is very quick. I mean, the handling, it does handle like an SUV, so you actually don't want to be driving this on the absolute edge. Similar to the Land Rover Defender, I found almost at times a little bit overpowered for the high clearance and SUV like handling characteristics, which is never going to be as good as a lower slung car. So you do need to apply a bit of caution when you're driving this car. She's got a lot of power, but that power will come in handy when it's fully loaded and towing. This would actually be a great tow vehicle because you almost want to make it a little heavier just to slow it down a bit. This thing's off the chain. Yeah, so 0 to 100 is very, very sharpish in this car. Very sharpish indeed. It's a good all-around player. It's up this hill quickly. So then you got a new Tiggo Max that ain't short on power. It looks good. It turns a lot of heads. Build quality to be confirmed. But in general, a very pleasurable car to drive. So if you're interested in a 7-seater, I would definitely drive this, the Mahindra Scorpio. Give the Everest a ride, do your research, see which ones the JD Powers rankings fare the best for reliability. You got to do your research. But The Chinese, I see every time I drive a Chinese car, it gets better. It gets a little bit more refined. The build quality goes up a notch or two. Is it Toyota build quality yet? I think with that Toyota reputation, it's going to be a difficult ask, but you know, things change in motoring, and you can't just assume that it's going to be unreliable. Do your research.
Economic mode entered.
That's the part I don't like about this car. Every time you start the car, it tells you which mode you're in, which for me is a little bit overkill. But all in all, a good compelling package, and at this price point, just under 700,000 rand, it's a couple 100,000 rand cheaper than the competition. So I don't know if there's any way to turn that off, but other than that, the car's been performing very well on the highway. It's got a lot of power, so you've got to be careful with the front wheel drive. I mean, this is pushing 200 kilowatts through the front tires, which is a lot, but so you've got to steer with the front as well. But there is an all-wheel drive version coming out. It's only 70,000 rand more. I'd recommend that one. Good to drive, very comfortable, luxurious. They give you a good service and maintenance plan here. After sales is getting better, but reliability is still to be confirmed. You want to see one of these after 10 years and then we can talk, but we don't have that luxury, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm seeing a lot of them on the road. They're selling a lot of product here. It's going to be good for the after sales, but it's up against the likes of the Ford Everest, which I'm getting next, and the Mahindra Karua. And let's make a little montage only on Africa Sideways. Peace.